Next question. Okay. I live in Japan. I'm on HRT, American Protocol, thank God. My libido is high. My wife, 45 years old, has no libido. I would like her to get on HRT, but Japanese protocol seems dated as far as men are concerned. I wonder what tests should be done and what treatment would you recommend for a woman to get back her libido and the joy of life in general. Joie de vivre, as you always say, even with all the stress. Regards.
Interesting question, and hits on a lot of topics that have to do with libido. I mean, as I always say, so much of the stuff is up here as well as in the hormones. I mean, you know, I've seen guys come in with below normal levels of testosterone, but certainly an elevated libido based upon what they say, how many people they're dating, let's say, out there, you know. But in every other respect, you know, this particular gentleman I'm thinking of was a curmudgeon, you know, no energy and just bad mood and all that other stuff. So, first of all, you know, he does touch on a lot of points that could be affecting libido, including stress, which is a killer of just about anything.
That's right.
If it's, you know, beyond what we call use or normal stress.
Yeah.
The fact that she's 45 is a pretty good indicator I mean, there's no chance that she's producing the same amount of hormones she was when she was, say, 20.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a good avenue to pursue, looking at her hormone levels, the so-called sex hormones, as a reason for why her libido, I'm assuming it's changed. It used to be better. I mean, because, again, personality-wise, if it's always been bad, good luck.
Yeah.
Of course, you could say, well, it's always been bad because her hormones have always been low. And I've seen some cases where that was actually what we had to presume, because it wasn't until we got hormones back up to a high normal level that, you know, things definitely took a turn for the better. But yeah, I would do a test that involves all the cholesterol-based hormones, the so-called sex hormones, progesterone, DHEA, pregnenolone, testosterone, and estrogen, to see what's going on there. And then my standard protocol is to start off with 20 milligrams per milliliter of testosterone if it's needed, if she's got low testosterone. And again, you have to look at not just the total. And when you talk about, I don't want to get into Japanese versus other, but just when you see some of the people who are looking at, even some of the books and the articles that were written, like back in the 50s, they were looking at total testosterone. That's not good enough. You have to look at free testosterone. And of course, I've already said it many times, you have to have the symptoms, and apparently she does have some of the symptoms of low testosterone. But oftentimes, no, most of the time, you'll see, even if she's not on replacement therapy, as she gets older, her total testosterone may be in the high normal range, but the free T is really low. And what happens with replacement is, invariably, you'll have to get total testosterone to at least 3 times high normal to get free testosterone in the, you know, high normal or effective, clinically effective range. So that's just a little fun fact, if you will, because, you know, this comes up all the time when they look at their labs and go, holy moly, you know, high normal is 40 and I'm at, you know, 150. What's going on here? Wait a minute, look at the free testosterone. You're at 3.3. That's great, you know. So again, I don't know anything about the Japanese protocol. Mine is to start off with that, depending on how she metabolizes the testosterone, which is going to be pretty rapidly anyway. That's why you have to dose yourself on a daily basis. By the way, timing is important too. You know, don't put on the cream 2 hours before you go to get your labs done. You know, if you're a morning doser, skip it that morning to see where you are perhaps, or do it that morning and don't go until the end of the day to test, so that, you know, you can see sort of a mid-range, if you will, so that you can evaluate properly. Always, you know, evaluate clinically first. But then if you're a good transdermal absorber or a bad transdermal absorber, we'll have to tweak the dose. But that's pretty much where I start. Of course, the excipient makes a big difference. What you put in with that testosterone. Sometimes, for example, if you have a poor transdermal absorber, you might want to throw in, well, you can increase the strength, go to 30 milligrams per ml, but you could also utilize DMSO, for example.
That's right.
You remember,
We talked about that.
dimethyl salt. Oh, we talked about that before?
Yeah.
Because it's a solvent to help bring it through the skin barrier a little bit better. So, that's just a starter dose. Did I answer the gist of the question? Yeah. So, get tested and see.
Or you can move back to Santa Monica.
Right.
Come and see Dr. Rand. Okay, a peptide question. Hey Dave, love the Ask the Doc series. I have another question. So I guess it's a repeat, Doc. We're getting some repeat questions now. I was hoping you may be able to ask him. I recently tore my pectoral major tendon off the bone and I had surgery at the beginning of May 2015. I needed to be fully healed and working by September, and I was looking into peptide TB500 and BPC157, which have been said to help with tendons and repair. I was wondering if you have heard of these and their effects. Thank you.
It's kind of a short window. I don't know if it was a complete tear or what's going on, but in order to heal, was that May?
May to September.
June, July, August, September. I mean, depending on, if you're going to be participating in the CrossFit Games or...
He must be an athlete of some sort.
Yeah, or if it's just so it doesn't look all beat up. I don't know. Maybe, get back with more specifics. But certainly in the interest of repairing as quickly as possible, that's an easy one. You want to promote higher levels of growth hormone so that the combination of growth hormone and what it gets turned into, IGF-1, can help with... the tendons and the tissue healing there. Ways to do that are to increase your protein intake, aside from the obvious ways to do that. Sermorelin is a peptide that's legal here. It's an analog of growth hormone, releasing hormone, that we can use to help promote our own production of growth hormone. As far as peptides go, unfortunately, we don't have any ones that are legal here in the U.S. To prescribe and use. I mean, the whole research purposes stuff aside, I'm saying, as a doctor, I can't prescribe GHRP2, GHRP6, which also through a different mechanism raise growth hormone levels. In terms of his particular peptides he mentions, TB500, I apologize. I think that TB500 is... more for the thyroid. I'll have to go back and look at that one, but I think that's a thyroid-producing hormone. But forgive me, I may be wrong, and I'll go back and research that and answer it properly. But BPC157 certainly does, according to the animal studies, help with repair of tendons. And that's one that I don't have any direct experience with, in the sense that I don't have colleagues that are using this and say, hey, great, but I do have patients who have told me that their orthopedic surgeons have come back and said, well, again, it's not legal here in the United States, but the rumor has it that it's in stage either 2 or stage 3 trials, because the animal studies, I think it was with rats, were phenomenal, where you have complete transection of the tendon sewn back together, and in 6 weeks it was good as new. That's pretty amazing.
Wow.
And I know some of the athletes, particularly the strength athletes, are talking about using it. I think it was 250 micrograms at least once a day, preferably twice a day, on, like, for a bicep tendon. On, they would use a triangle pattern. I mean, who knows if any of this makes any of the difference? And you really should. I mean, it's online. If someone's going to decide to take this upon themselves to do it, and I'm not promoting that obviously, but you could go and look it up online to see how they were doing it with the rats. But that has a lot of science behind it thus far with animal studies, and hopefully it does work, and we'll get it here in the United States. Because
how many stages is there? You said it's either number 2 or number 3. How many stages?
After stage 3, you can, you're moving on to we can start using it in humans, assuming it goes through all the proper channels.
That takes years, right? I mean, it's like,
I never have looked into it too much. They have ways to fast track certain drugs. Certain exceptions when it's a lifesaver. Obviously, isn't a lifesaver, but for cancer drugs and stuff like that. Yeah. But I think a lot of it depends upon how much the drug companies are willing to spend on studies that, cut to the chase and say, hey, you can't argue. We've covered all the safety aspects, which is really what the FDA is most interested in, is making sure it's not going to, as they say, first do no harm, and then of course at least as important or secondarily to first doing no harm, it's got to be efficacious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that we're using on animals that's pretty far along. I mean, you got to start before that even.
Wow.
Most of the time. So, the fact that they're doing it with animals, that's a good sign.
Good. All right. Thank you.